if you're wondering how it's going. We got holes here. We got holes here. Holes here. Okay, so what this is, guys. All right, that way maybe this will come across a septic, guys. FYP. There's the riser. There's most definitely doo-doo in there and some deer bones because this was uncovered. All right. Old house used to sit right in this area. Ignore what Joey's got in his mouth. Okay. Right back here, you got... Okay. And then keep walking. This way. All right. Right here. Now understand all the property stuff that I could pull up pictures wise only goes back to 85, and there's a house over there. Okay. Right up in front here. Boom. I'll insert that in just a second. Okay. This looks like an old septic system. Look at that. It looks like a field draining system and all, because you see how dead this looks. But just wait. There's another riser over here. Now it's not uncovered like the other. No. Yeah. Do we know anything about septic? Oh, yeah, I hear like armadillos digging little holes in our backyard. Everywhere. But I think he may have found... What you got? Okay, let's do it. Well, we tried, so I think we're going to leave it to the professionals.
How much?
It's going to be like over $1,000.
$1,000?
Yeah. So this is part 2 of our fun adventure of locating a septic. Look, if you're looking at buying property, especially to do homesteading, you're more than likely going to be on septic. Or maybe you're going to go full on off grid and you want to do a composting toilet. That's something Joey and I consider. But if you've watched our financial video on YouTube, you'll see that we're still actively paying on this property. We don't fully own it yet. And because of that, there are a few restrictions in place just between the landowner and us. Now, on the finalized deed, none. Don't have to worry about that. But until it's paid off, there is a minimum on the dwelling on the square footage, or tiny homes are permitted, but you do have to have a functioning septic. And it does have to meet state requirement. Well, to my luck, there's septic there. Could be 2. We don't know. Let's figure it out together. So the first thing I'm going to show y'all is a picture of the property right now with no dwelling on it. Then we're going to pull up some satellite imagery of when a dwelling was actually on the property. I'm going to give you a reference point. Pay attention to that because I'm going to have Joey sit by that reference point throughout the rest of the photos. And the reason why I'm doing that is to kind of help you track along where we're at on the property. It's kind of hard, you know, when we go from looking at an aerial view, and I'm the only one that's actually seen it in person, and y'all just have seen videos, so it's the easiest way for me to help you track along. And it's going to be important. Most of the time, your septic systems are rather close to the house, okay? They're pretty close. One of these is not very close. The other is. One matches the description of a septic far more, and it's the one that's further away. So this has really got me bun-fundled. Now, am I hiring a professional? Absolutely. I've actually already contacted one, and they want the information I'm about to share with you. I'm going to give it to them today, and then they're going to help best lead me on what we're going to do, which is most likely just going to be a pumping. Now, the reason for us doing all this extra stuff is because, did you not know, if they come and locate it with just their little meter and their little frequency gun and all that crap, their little transmitter gun, that's a couple $100. Yep. If they have to come dig, and they don't even own their own excavators, that costs money. That costs a lot of money. That actually costs the most money. If they have to locate, which is dig up the little manhole cover. Not the big manhole cover you're about to see, but there's an additional concrete little access point where the pipe and the tap in and all that run together, okay? But let me give you this information. I haven't been able to locate a tap in, and I figured out why yesterday. Joey and I went in the barn, and while we were farting around looking for a piece of rebar, because I never took a pokey stick with me. No, I did not buy a probe. I did not. I was a dummy. I did it the hard way. We went up there and dug a million holes, and I'm aggravated, so I'm going to go buy a probe now. But nonetheless, we went in there looking for a metal pole, and guess what we found? The tap in. That whole 3-inch pipe, there's probably like 6 feet of it just laid up in there perfectly. Looked like after the house burned, that tap in was placed in there so it didn't get destroyed, because when they bush hogged, they did destroy some water lines. I'll show you that in a minute. Okie dokie. This is now. Ignore all of this. This is where I was measuring out the acreage on the cane patch. Okay, reference point. At the top of my bun, right there's a satellite dish. Pay attention to that, because that is where Joey is going to sit beside in all of these photos for a reference point. Now, I also want you to keep this area right here in mind. Why? Because that is where the completely visible concrete platform and riser is that would make one think it was a septic or a cistern. Septic cistern. I don't know. It looks like a septic. Looks like a giant manhole on it too. So here we go. There's the house, y'all. Wasn't it pretty? It did look really, really pretty. I like it. So right in here was the satellite dish I was talking about. Right over here, concrete platform with a huge riser. I'm about to show it to you. Poof. There that thing is. Yeah. Oh, she big. She might be more than 24 inches wide. Now, you see these rings? I measured them. They're 3 feet. So we got 3, 6, 9. I can visibly see the next one, but there's water covering up to 2 feet of it. So I can visibly see down 10 feet, but with these rings, I counted like 12 feet. 12 feet. This is pretty deep. Septic tanks normally that deep. Now, here's what's messed up. All this right here does look like some sewage. Another thing, there's a dead deer carcass in there, and everybody kept asking me why. Well, before I bought this, y'all, this was wide open. Wide open. Anything could have fell in. Anybody or anything, which I have non-trespassing signs up now, so you come on the property and this is open, that's on you. But I covered it. I did cover it. So let's go look at all of these little reference point photos and what we're looking at. Now, remember, this is on the back side of where the house was, so it would make one thing. Septic. But how deep it is makes me think cistern. But dang it, right over there by the satellite dish was that. That looks like a manhole to what? A septic tank. And it just happens to be a couple of inches under the soil, but it was wide open too. Somebody had a branch in there. All right, Joey's sitting at that spot. You see where the branch is sticking up? I don't know what he's doing with his hands. I just noticed that. And then you see some water lines here and what looks like maybe some irrigation lines. Moving on, Joey's at the reference point. We just came from this direction over here. More water lines. Don't look like no field lines. These are probably only a ½ inch to an inch. Again, reference point. Now you see the 8 by 10 concrete platform with that huge manhole riser, okay? Now, I dug around this one because it was already pretty much uncovered. Not the other one. I made the mistake. I'm going to go back and dig on that one before we call the professionals to have anybody pull an excavator out there. Because that smells like money. We dug around it. A little bit. We dug a little bit. Did we find anything? Did we find any other? Nothing. Nothing. More nothing. So this is the conclusion I've came to. Before I call to have them pump, I'm going to go back up there with a probe because I did it the old-fashioned way. We're going to find the other uncovering to that septic because I know for a fact that's a septic. I'm starting to wonder if this wasn't a, like, 2 different chamber system, one for gray water, one for the other. What's crazy is I know for a fact, like when I get over here, I didn't get good pictures of that. I should have for y'all. You can tell there's a field drain line system in here. One, what do you see right there now? Darkness. You see that? Right. You see that dead patch? Right over here, huge dead swath. And it's sunken down. So what does that tell you? That is most likely the septic, and I need to go back up there and check that. That also makes more sense. That would be downhill from the well. Well pump is boop, right here. Well pump's here. We've got hand pumps here, hand pump here, hand pump here, and I think there might be a hand pump right beside the barn. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's the septic. So what the hell? What is that? What is this? I've never seen anything like it my entire life, and I'm country, and I've grew up in Arkansas, but this is an 8 by 10 platform. You can't find any connections to it. These rings, 3 foot each, I measured them. There's 12 of them visibly that I can see, but the bottom one there is covered up with 2 feet of water. I don't see any inlet pipes, outlet pipes. What is this? This is tripping me out. What is this? Because this had me thinking it was a septic. But you ever seen a septic that deep? 12 feet? That's just visibly what I could see. 12? That'd be a big-ass tank, wouldn't it? 8 by 10, 12 feet deep. Think about them dimensions. Now, I know a 1,000-gallon one's pretty big, and I'm probably not, putting my little diaphragm in my head. But yeah, what is this? Plan is, and Joey doesn't know it yet, I'm going to tell him right after I tell y'all. We're going to go get a probe. And we're going to go back up there, and we're going to dig where he wanted to dig, and I told him not to. Oh, yeah. While we were up there, I remember when I was looking on satellite imagery, I had seen about a half a mile up the road on Big Cedar Creek, there was possibly rapids. And from seeing this and seeing the elevation drop, I was like, we should go check that out because look, I am terrified of water, but at the same time, I love to float. This is conveniently close enough that we could quite literally pop in here, float down past where it actually meets Uncle Bud Creek. That is the wet weather creek behind the house. Jump out and walk to the front door. I found what possibly was maybe an old bridge that was probably taken out during that 2013 flood. And for reference, this is Big Cedar Creek. Now, I was under the impression since the river, the Fauche-Lafave River, I was under the impression that all of this stuff ran west. It does not. That river runs east, right, towards Little Rock into the Arkansas River. This right here actually runs back west into the river, which is weird. It meets the river right on the other side of the mountain in front of the home. But those rapids I've seen on satellites, yeah, I bet this thing gets wild during the spring. And while I was back here, I discovered something. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? Hey, bud. Joe, can you see it? This big old, is it a crow or a raven? Hey, buddy. What are you doing? So I'm bugging Joey to look at the sky, right? I look it back at Joey. He's got his hand on the pistol because he sees something moving in on us in the woods. And we're in a drought, so animals are moving, even the kitty cats. Meanwhile, I'm literally intimidated by this thing because I've never been this close to one of them. And then it hits me. You dummy. You raise poultry. And then it hits me even harder. I'm like, oh, crap, biosecurity. You do raise poultry. I tried to save this guy. He wasn't about those efforts. He ran away from me, so I went to the truck. I got the last bit of our leftover chicken strips from Sonic that day, and I left them for him. After that, we packed up and headed home.